I have to get, because all right, so I was just in the South, which I'll talk about probably on the next episode or something like that, but I was in Charleston, South Carolina yesterday, and I went to this coffee shop. I love coffee, love good coffee, and this was like the best rated one in the area. So I go down there, and once I enter, I realize this isn't an ordinary coffee shop. It is a coffee shop that was opened by two parents who have a child who has Down syndrome. So they decided to open a cafe where it's all run by like special needs employees. So like they're making the coffee. There's like older women with like Parkinson's, like people a little shaky and stuff. And there's people working with Down syndrome there. So initially you're like, this is great. Like this is a great thing. I'm glad this is being supported and stuff like that. So I order my coffee. I go, I'll have an iced coffee. And then I'll also have a double espresso I was getting for my wife, Erica. So, and she was like, no problem. Very kind, very nice to me. And I go over there and I'm like, this is pretty cool. Look at this. I'm like tipping more than I ever would to buy two coffees, And then
did you make sure they didn't stir it with their finger?
Well, here's the thing, right? So then the service starts going south a little bit. And like they give me it takes a little longer than normal.
Lady hands you the coffee, and by the end of it, you have a quarter of a cup.
Yeah.
Well, she handed it to me, and it was just one drink, and it was a iced coffee that then was poured scalding hot espresso on top of it to make one drink. Even though, so I had to be like, oh, sorry, I actually wanted two, and then they inspected the ticket and then had to make it over, and you're like, because yeah. It's a fine line, you want to support it, but you're like, okay, I see now why, we don't just have...
You know what I think happened? I think you stumbled onto the set of the new Impractical Jokers movie.
Yeah, that's a tough situation, because how do you come across without sounding mean? You know what I mean? It's like, hey, you got my order wrong. And they're like, what? I need to check the ticket. And it's like, look, I'm not the one with a mental handicap here.
Yeah. Trust me when I tell you.
They're looking at the ticket upside down. You're like, is there somebody else I could talk to? Well, like a parent?
There didn't seem to be any supervision in terms, like they were running the place themselves. They were doing, it seemed like a fine, but then like the line started backing up, and I'm like, oh, no, I could just see this was one of those, like, it's a feel-good store, but it's not exactly a practical store.
It's not it's a feel-good store, not a taste-good store.
And I gotta be honest, the coffee, not great.
Right. And what a danger zone. Is there anything worse for a lady with Parkinson's than a 180-degree Fahrenheit beverage?
Yeah. Well, and she was truly, and of course they were like, oh, just get more iced coffee from the fridge. And you know how coffee shops hold the iced coffee in those, 4-gallon jugs. So she's like trying to put the thing on, and she's like pouring it, and it's just going everywhere. And I'm like, I don't know. Do you know where another coffee? I got another coffee. From
you went to another place?
Well, I got that and drank it, but it was like it wasn't good. But I felt good that I supported
21. They put an extra 21 sugars in there.
It's fun.
I can't imagine like the Freudian slips that must happen at a place like that. Like I'll have a Derpicino. I mean.
Can I have a venti?
This is the clip that's going to not get me a job at some point.
Oh, that's the best part, is our producer makes sure she picks the things that will are certain fireable offenses.
Right.
Yeah. Every time she's like, whatever's gonna hurt them the most.
Tony Hinchcliffe says Derpicino on Irish Goodbye Podcast.
People triggered from coast to coast.
The coffee wasn't good, but the change was perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, Alex, they should divvy up the jobs separately there. Like the Parkinson's lady shouldn't be on pouring. That's for the Down syndrome kid, right? Put the Parkinson's lady on the register, even though that could cause accounting problems down the road.
The autistic kid on the register. Yeah. The Parkinson's lady for when you have to mix the milk and the sugar.
Shake a drink.
So they have special lids, and you just give it to her, and she just mixes it good and hands you your drink.
I'll have the shaken iced tea lemonade, please. Yeah. Well shaken.
Yeah. It's like, well, here's the thing. You didn't have a choice. You were getting it shaken either way. But
every sip is uniform.
And here's the thing too, is I was lucky that when I walked in, there was nobody else online. So like, but by the time I left, there were 5 people in line behind me. And I don't know if it's a famous place that people know and they go there for that reason, or if they walk in, but I could see a couple of people in line that didn't know and were like, oh, but you can't leave. You can't get out of line. You know what I mean? Because you look like a piece of shit. So those people were just pot committed to being there until they figured it out.
You're just online and you get to the front, you scan the scene and you're like,
like, fuck. You know, the service is rough when you start and no one's in line behind you. And by the end, it looks like a voter's booth in Atlanta.
Yeah. Well, it was absolutely insane. But what else is insane?
What was the name of the place?
Should I say it, or is that? I don't
was
know
it
if
a
I
pun?
Should. It was
Starbucks. I'm sorry, everybody with mental health. That was a joke.
Did you just say Tard Box? Where's the bun?
That's the best part. It was just a hammer. It wasn't innuendo at all.
I need a stage with an audience. It's pent up inside of me. There's smoke coming out of my ears. I need to say bad things.
Oh. It's what's the name? Duncan Mongoloid?
Dunkin' Donuts.
That's when you want to make your Irish goodbye.